Hello, my YouTube friends, and happy Thursday. I hope you're all doing well. Hope you're enjoying the day. Just thought I'd talk about slowly making my account more pointy in terms of trusting the top 5 to 10 holdings that I really believe in and slowly rotating out of some of the others that I play around with. Now, as you guys know, I've liked Boeing a lot, and I don't plan to just get right out, and I've been selling calls against it. And I really believe what I say about it that in the next few years, I think it returns to value and starts drifting the other way. I don't really see them going out of business, but anything can happen. So I don't want to say it won't happen. It makes me nervous when I see the stock below $140 a share. But quite honestly, I think as time goes on, some of the negativity disappears, people stop thinking about it, and we'll see that stock slowly return to value. I know that NEP has had a bit of a tough time, but I've also had some good winners to be able to offset some of them. And as the end of the year starts coming and I start thinking about tax season, I've had some nice gains. I'm able to take some losses against it. I would reach out to your financial planner as well as your accountant to see what makes the most sense for you guys as well in terms of balancing that stuff out to make sure it all makes sense. But as I start rotating out of some of these things, I'm really going to focus on those stocks that I love best, and I'll kind of go over those. And you guys can tell me what you think and the companies you like best as well. The funny thing is, I have a really tough time getting below 13 stocks. And even from there, there are ones I still like that I didn't include it. Like both Apple and Microsoft did not make my list, but I really like the companies. I think they're good investments. I got nothing against them. And I think they're some of the top companies, which is really what I try to focus on when I'm looking at what I consider the best of the best. So number one and two are really the ones that stick out the most to me, and I'll rattle them both off and then I'll go into what I like about them. Now, I have Amazon and Meta, and probably in that order, but maybe Meta and then Amazon. Meta happens to be my largest holding, but that was because I was fortunate enough to put a nice position on when it dropped down to, it actually got below $100 a share. I didn't buy it under 100, but I bought it just above as it started making its way back up. And it's had a really good run, which is why it's become my top holding. Because originally I put the same amount of money into most of these things. Amazon, on the other hand, is I think my second largest holding. It could be my third behind Google or possibly Starbucks. But those are my top two favorite stocks. And they're also going to be who I try to dedicate more funds of as I rotate out of some of the trades I've had on and some of the other stuff as well and start really focusing on these companies. So what I love about Amazon is so many things. I mean, we all know the retail end of it and the deliveries of everything to our doorstep. And to be perfectly honest, their return policy is phenomenal as well. I love all that stuff about Amazon as an end user of their retail business. In fact, at this point, I'm not even as price sensitive to some of the things I'm looking for on their site because they make it so convenient. I don't even like to go to the store that much. Now, I do get out of the house, I find other things to do, but I don't really need to run to the pharmacy or the hardware store or geez, even if I need something for the kitchen or anything else. Now, they also own Whole Foods, which has created a new avenue. They've actually opened it up a new grocery store on top of it that I've seen some videos on that looks pretty cool, and it's similar to what my wife was describing as to how things are done in China, where you're just putting your products in the grocery cart and you don't really need to go to checkout because it can scan the item you're putting into the cart, and as you're moving along it'll tally up your total and you just pay for it as you go or when you're done. If you return something, I'm guessing you rescan it and mark it as a return because it's got scales or weights in the basket as well to know what you're putting in and that it matches the thing that you're putting in there, as well as video cameras and everything else. Super cool place. I'm guessing as time goes on that Albertsons and Smiths will incorporate the same type of system as well. So I just see it as a great opportunity, not a great opportunity, but a great process for being able to go to the store to just kind of take it and then not need to get in line to wait for somebody to check you out or check it out yourself. Super cool. On top of it, Amazon has Amazon Prime, which is not nearly as good as Netflix, in my personal opinion, but it is an ability to compete on that platform. It's included when you sign up for the other stuff that comes with it, which is the quick delivery and the retail stuff and everything else. And of course, they have Amazon Web Services, which is growing really well and a good profit margin business. Now, when I look at the Amazon Prime for the television and the movies and the other stuff, if they're able to grow that, and I think this year they even added football and did some NFL on there, that creates a ton of advertising, and the advertising is really good margins. That's what I like about their division for the television, and I think they know that, and that's why they're getting into that space. They then have a lot of ancillary businesses as well. I think you guys are familiar with it. We can all do a Google search, which is one of my other picks, as to the other companies that they have. But I love Amazon, and of course, it's one of my tops. Now, Meta as well I love for other reasons. I think I saw recently that 3.2 billion people visit their sites daily and spend time there. Now, as I've gotten old, I'm old. I don't really use Facebook too much. I don't go on Instagram too much. But when I did have a restaurant, Instagram was like the greatest advertiser in the world. Like if I put something on Instagram, I could target the area around my restaurant, which is where something like 90% of your clients come from. I could send it out and I could see the results immediately. Whereas when I've done other advertising, whether it's television, TV, television is TV, duh, radio, or those little like mailer packets that go out and people get the coupons or even coupons in newspapers and anything else, you didn't really see the results the same way. And unless you did a coupon or something that was a call to action, you may not recognize it at all. And I'm sure some of it worked. But if you did an advertisement on Instagram and Facebook as well, but really Instagram as things changed, it was amazing how well it did and how quickly you could see it do it. Now, I also really like where he's going with the Oculus, even though it's just a video game thing right now in the metaverse, which is what people didn't like about the company. But I kind of see a big vision with that too. And what it tells me about Mark Zuckerberg is that he's not just complacent that the company is doing fine, he's still trying to grow it. He still wants to beat the world, he still wants to, grow and grow. And I think he has a vision of people going to school on the Oculus or whatever it becomes if it's not an Oculus, or people going to sporting events. I've talked about that in other videos. Like, how cool would it be when the Super Bowl comes around if you had an option to pay for it on your Oculus and you could decide, do I want to be on the 50-yard line? Do I want to be up top? Like, where do I want to be in the stadium? And then you could put on the headset with your friends and literally be sitting there watching the game, feeling like you're at the event. In fact, they could even have little advertisements that come up that offer to sell you pizza or whatever it is that they think of that comes up on the Oculus, and you could choose and have it delivered to your house. I think all that stuff is really cool. I don't know if that's what he envisions, but that's kind of what I envision. The other thing is you could be right down on the field for the halftime show or whatever it is that you want to do with this stuff. So I really like where Mark Zuckerberg and Meta is going with the metaverse. And I know the street doesn't like how much he's spending on it. But to be fair, from what I understand, they're the first company that's been using AI to really improve their sales, which is why the stock has been doing so well. Now, number 3 on my list is Costco. Be careful with Costco, and I'll give my little disclaimer here, which is you need to do your own research. Please reach out to your financial advisor or whomever you use when making financial decisions. Just use what I do as entertainment purposes only, and don't use it for making your decisions when trading or making financial choices. Um, Part of why I put that disclaimer here is I think Costco, in terms of valuation, seems really overpriced for what they are, but it goes in line with my concept of buying the best companies. Now, I keep a much smaller position in Costco because I'm concerned about the valuation, but I still want to own it because I think you want to own the best of the best. Now, when the economy does poorly, people flock to Costco to save money. And when the economy does well, people flock to Costco because it's a good company and they're doing well and people like to go there. We use them too. It's a great place. Their return policy is really good. They have good quality products. Nothing against Sam's Club. I really do like Costco a lot better. So we end up going there and not to Sam's. And I think they have a real path to be able to continue to grow because when you look at the total number of stores that they actually have, their footprint is rather small. They don't have a ton of locations, which is pretty cool. Number four on the list, and it's beginning to get a little more cloudy as to the order of things. The top, well, 10 or 13 really came out quickly. I didn't have to think too much of it. It is Google, which, as you guys know, Facebook or YouTube as well. So I love YouTube. Not only am I doing content, I absorb content and watch other people's things as well. I watch finance, I watch travel, I actually watch stuff about animals, and like I like how it goes. And I didn't used to. I noticed my son on there, so I was kind of curious and popped on and started playing around. And the next thing you know, I don't even really watch TV anymore. I go to Google or YouTube to get my content. The scary thing is I become so it's very hard for me to watch full videos, which is why I respect that not everybody watches mine. I watch one, I flip to the next, I get distracted, I go on to something else. But I really like their system. And I also think that Google's Gemini is going to be a large player in the AI space. I don't think that they're just going to get taken over by all these other companies. I think they're good at what they do. I think the fact that we call it a Google search is beyond a strong value. It's like I've said it in other videos, it's like Kleenex. A lot of people don't even refer to it as a tissue paper, it's a Kleenex. Same with a Google search. Well, that's something that's really hard to be able to create, and it's very hard to take that away from somebody. So I think that gives Google a real footprint in the search space that's going to be hard to change as time goes along. The other thing I like about Google is I like that they're in the space for the autonomous driving, as is Amazon, and I like that about them, as is Tesla, and I like that about them, as is Uber. Now, there might be others involved as well, but I think those are the four that are really in the forefront, and maybe all four of them will have a position in it. But I think it's a really cool spot right now, and I'm guessing one of them, if not all of them, have a real good ability to make that profitable. So number five on the list steps out of technology and goes into essentially energy on purpose, but maybe not what people would think of, and that's Chevron. I've always really liked Chevron and Exxon. I would kind of say either of them is just fine for what somebody's favorite is. You guys can let me know who you like better. I've just rotated out of Exxon and moved it into Chevron. I had them both for a long time. The reason I did that, quite honestly, is Chevron was paying a little bit higher of a dividend. When I bought Exxon originally, it had a significantly higher dividend. I had some. I wanted to take the gains, so which is why I'm able to I wanted to take some losses against some of these gains that I took, because now I'm regretting that I did, and anyway. That's just on me. But either way, I rotated into Chevron because it had a bit of a better dividend, and I really see them as both key players in the oil and gas space, and energy, quite honestly. So I don't know that I love one more than the other. That was the real reason I rotated out of Exxon into Chevron. But I think they're both great companies. I think they'll continue to grow over time. I actually think it's impressive that oil has fallen off down below $70 a barrel and that they're still doing and performing as well as they are. They're able to make profits and continue to grow, which tells me that if oil actually goes up in price, that maybe they do even better. The interesting thing is with Trump in office, he's probably, drill baby drill. I don't know if that helps them or hurt them because it probably drives the price of oil down, but it allows them to be in charge of more of that, control more of it if they're actually the ones building more whatever they're called, the big pipes, the pipelines, and everything else to be the drills, I guess, to pump the oil and do it themselves. So if they're in control, maybe they're able to increase the profits and the margins, but it also may keep the price of oil down. So it'll be interesting to see. I still think it's somebody who's in favor of these companies, so I think they'll do real well under this administration too. Next on the list, I have Starbucks. Now, I know Starbucks has had its trouble. It's had a tough time. It's been doing real well now that Nichols has gone into being their CEO. And I'm very optimistic for the things that he talks about, and really he can start growing it if he can do the things that he said. But I really love Starbucks because I think they're number one in their space. So why wouldn't I want to be there? Like, I think of them similar to McDonald's. I think it's a great company run really well. It'll have ups and downs, but that if I stick with it for 20 years, I imagine they're doing more business in less in time. And I'm guessing they'll have ability to automate and be able to save on costs. They'll be able to save on labor. And from what he said, he's going to make the menu simpler for people, which I think will be huge. It'll help the customers as well as the employees. So they'll be able to get out your drinks quicker and move those lines. Because when I drive past some of these Starbucks, I think their biggest trouble is the line is so long they can't move them fast enough. So if he's able to even save 10% on that, that's going to increase profits dramatically. Next, I have NVIDIA. And why do I have NVIDIA even after the run that it's had? Because no matter what somebody is doing in the AI space, they are the ones that people are going to. They are making the chip that everybody wants. They have so much demand that people can't keep up with it, or they can't keep up with it. And the margins are outrageous. They crush it on it. On top of that, it isn't simply selling people the chip, there's in service afterwards. So there isn't just one time sale and you're done. It's consistent revenue. And when I look at it, yes, when it gets up around $150 a share, where it's kind of trading now, the forward PE gets a little bit frothy, but down around $130 or so, it really isn't as expensive as people think simply because it's gone up so much. They're making so much money that the stock price actually makes sense. As opposed to Costco, where I say it's overpriced, I'm not sure NVIDIA is. And I'm really excited to see what happens with their earnings next week. Either way, I think if you want to be in the AI space, instead of guessing about who's going to be this or who's going to be that, they all need NVIDIA, which I think makes it really easy to decide. And it's owning the best of the best. And then I have one that guessing very few of you agree with, but it's Cisco, not the food company, but Cisco Systems. They made their highs back in the internet bubble and then have been sitting dormant after falling ever since. They paid like a 3.5% dividend when I was buying it. It's finally beginning to creep higher and nobody's really paying attention. My guess is they are a great company, and that is why they got so overpriced in the internet bubble. Like Microsoft, that didn't have new highs for something like 16 years, what I'm hoping is that Cisco, now that it's beginning to creep higher, just continues along that route. It's an interesting one for me to throw in my top 10 or top 15, really, but I still have them there and I'm not changing my mind on it. I really like Cisco Systems. Next on the list is something in the cybersecurity, and that is Palo Alto Networks. Now, if you like CrowdStrike, that's great too. I think when they collapsed recently, that created a really good opportunity to get in rather inexpensively. And it shows how valuable they were since the world pretty much stopped when they were having that problem. Either way, I like Palo Alto Networks. I went with them. I want to have something in that space. I think they're probably top of top. And again, that is my motif of what I want to be invested in for the long run. I'm slowly rotating. I still watch everything else. I love some of the others I've talked about, and I keep an eye on it. And I still have positions, and I'm not just dumping them and moving straight into this. But I do plan over time to slowly dwindle the other ones down and really put my money into the ones I think are the best because they tend to perform. And then when they have pullbacks, they tend to catch themselves and start drifting right back up, which makes me a lot more comfortable. The other thing is, if I stick with the ones that I believe in the most and have the highest conviction, when they do have corrections, I don't stress about them so much. For example, like when Starbucks fell, I actually own it from over $100 a share all the way down to $70 a share. And then as it's come back up, I did buy a little bit more when it dropped. But when it dropped, I wasn't thinking about selling Starbucks. I was comfortable that I still think they're a great company. So that's why I try to stick with the ones that I think are the best. And I really encourage you guys to do that too, which is a little bit why I say don't really listen to me. It's very hard to take somebody else's idea and make it your own. And you tend to do it wrong no matter what. If the company goes lower, you start to get too nervous too quickly. And even if it goes higher, you start to get excited and get out of things too quickly because it wasn't the one that you picked. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents on that. Next on my list is Target. Why Target? Like, that isn't a top of top company. I know, but they keep beating earnings and they keep doing really well. And their price to earnings ratio is so attractive to me that it's very hard to pass them up because I don't see them becoming a bad company. And I just see them, they got in this thing where people were upset because of their woke politics or whatever it was that was going on. I try to half listen to that stuff just to know the narrative of why stocks are moving. But Target's been established for an awful long time. They're actually trying to do the same day delivery stuff, as well as some other pretty interesting things. If they're able to pull it off, they'll be able to compete online in the stores. They've even started growing, from what I can tell, the food portion of the stores. And I think that's because it draws people in and helps them to get everything they're buying instead of just selling certain items. So I like Target. I like that it pays a little bit of a dividend. And I also think they're growing at a good pace. And when I look at their PE ratio, it seems super attractive to me. Those are the main ones. Well, and Tesla as well. I also had Lululemon and Apple on the list just because I think Lulu's rather inexpensive. And Apple, it's just hard to leave off, but it really isn't probably one of my top picks. I use an iPhone. I'm enmeshed in their products, but I didn't include them. Tesla, on the other hand, I think by being in the White House, that they're going to do extremely well. I just worry that the stock's gotten ahead of itself, so it's very hard for me to suggest it up here. But I would say it probably is best of the best, at least here in Las Vegas. When I drive around town, I see more Teslas at this point than any other vehicle. And that's happened very quickly. They've taken over market share from a lot of these companies over the past 10 years. That's a really quick move to be able to grow the way they have. And if you haven't driven one, do yourselves a favor and schedule a test drive just to see. What I found is once you get used to how they drive, it's very hard to go back to an ICE vehicle and get used to the delay when you press the gas and how quick the Tesla is and just how easy it is to drive. Just my 2 cents. Part of why I love Tesla, and as I've talked in other videos, I love that they control the equivalent of gasoline by having the charging stations. I love that they even will sell you insurance if you like, and their pricing is phenomenal. And then they even control the repairs and everything else because if you use a non Tesla part, you void the warranties. And a lot of places don't even know how to really work on electric vehicles so far. Anyway, I didn't say it earlier. I probably should have. If you haven't subscribed, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button. Make some comments. Let me know you guys are doing well. I'm going to go head out for a walk and edit the video and hopefully get it posted today. Have a great day.